Hi there. I'm just waiting to make sure I'm live on Facebook. Yeah, I'm live. Okay, so welcome. So every week I try and do a little video and share it with you. So I hope this is helpful. I have been teaching in the Subtle Yoga Resilience Society, which is my weekly live class membership group. I've been teaching this month, about how do you ramp things up? Like, how can you do things subtly and how can you ramp them up? Because, excuse me, sorry about that. I don't mean to cough into the microphone. I just get a little allergies in the morning sometimes. Okay, so how do you ramp things up and how do you do it safely? That is a question. Gosh, I think that's a question every yoga teacher has had to contemplate in one way or another, unless you're just like purely teaching chair yoga and everybody who comes knows they're not, even chair yoga classes I've taught, people have been like, can we do harder stuff, So, so the thing is, you can teach safely without hurting people or hurting yourself, that was a big issue for me for many years. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm teaching today and I hope I don't hurt my hip or my back because I'm trying to teach these harder poses and that's what people want at the gym, blah, 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 So you get this idea that that's what everybody wants. And when I started teaching more subtle practices, I thought, okay, there was this time in my life when I was just like, okay, I don't care if I have a lot of students. I just don't care. I can't teach like that anymore. And so I started teaching more subtle stuff, and it was amazing how many people were like, oh, this is really good. And I feel a little guilty because I'm not working out, but I really like what you're teaching me, so I'm going to do it anyway. And and then slowly I started to understand the neuroscience of it, and I was like, I can tell you why this is good for you too. Like, it's not totally wimpy yoga. I would have people come into my classes like wearing bras and bikinis and being like, this isn't real yoga. Make me sweat, because that's so much is the message that we've got from the culture. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'll step off that for now. And the message that I want to give you today is that you can do some challenging poses that are not risky. Like, I was watching a video of this famous yoga teacher the other day, and she was getting ready to teach her class. And so she was like showing the notes that she was doing, and she was like in side plank with her foot over her head in her hand. And I'm like that, who does that? There's a small section of the population that can and maybe should or shouldn't do that. I don't know. I can't judge that. But there's a huge section of the population that will never do that pose and isn't interested in it, So when I'm teaching to the public, I think about people with arthritis and with chronic health issues, maybe depression, maybe diabetes, there's just so many issues. And now we've got post-COVID long haulers. So there's so many issues that people have when they're coming to yoga. And we can't just, I think it doesn't help us as yoga professionals to only teach to the elite athletes. They have plenty of yoga teachers. They have plenty of people they can go to for yoga. There's and what is percentage of the population is an elite athlete anyway? Maybe 1%, maybe 0.5%. There's this huge group in the population that needs really safe, sustainable postures that they're going to be able to do for the rest of their life, The other thing that I witness frequently, and I've seen it on online classes, and I used to see it all the time in studios, is the teacher is doing these beautiful acrobatic poses, but it's like, sometimes I used to call it last man standing yoga, because everybody else in the room is just watching, because there's no way they're going to be able to do those beautiful poses like the teacher's doing it. Doesn't matter how much they try. We have to remember that flexibility is largely genetic, largely. And so it doesn't matter how much you do it, you probably will never be as flexible as that acrobatic, former gymnast yoga teacher, former dancer yoga teacher. So while that's beautiful to watch, it's not necessarily serving the students, the real people that show up for classes. So this is like my whole message. I've been talking and teaching about this stuff for a long time. So today what I want to show you really quickly is a pose that I love. It's called, the Sanskrit name of it is Dvipadapitam. And that means, did I say Dvipadapitam? I'm really sorry. The English name, that's not the pose we're doing. We're doing a pose that's called chariot. Gosh, I'm sorry, my brain sometimes. Which in Sanskrit, I can't remember the name in Sanskrit. It'll come back to me eventually. But anyway, we're doing, I guess that's why I got the Dvipadipittam. It's not the one we're doing. But I love Dvipadipittam, but that's not what we're doing. We're doing a pose called chariot, and chariot, I often call it flying squirrel, because that's what it looks like. And this pose is really good for building strength in your back. It's really good for when you have back issues. And it's really good for interocepting where in my back am I weaker. It's really good for that. It's really good for strengthening the muscles across the sacroiliac joint. It's amazing for that. And it also has a component of working the shoulders. So you really get to work the erectors all along the spine with this pose. Plus, it can be hard, which is, if people want a hard practice, do stuff like this. It'll make it harder. The more you do it, the harder it gets. So you want to try it with me? Come on back to your mat. I'm sure I'll remember the name at some point. My brain is a little mushy. Come on back to your mat. If you don't have a mat, feel free to just do this on the carpet. It's no big deal as long as it's clean and you don't mind being down there. So you come down onto your belly and your hands are next to your ribs and your feet are close together. You don't have to be touching, but close-ish together. And then the pose is that you inhale and fly like a flying squirrel. The arms and legs go wide. And when you exhale, you hug your elbows back and look down and bring your feet together. And then inhale, go wide again. And then exhale together. And all the way back down. Okay, so that's one pose, but you could stay up there as long as you want and make it harder. Now, what happens for some people is that their back is too weak to do this because of, they've had injuries or whatever. So another option is inhale, keep your hands down, but let the legs go wide. And then on the exhale, lower the chin and the feet come together. Inhale, legs go wide again. You could just keep doing this, right? Exhale, so it's inhale and exhale, but the pose usually is just one breath and then you repeat it, right? And then the other way you could do it, of course, keep the legs down and just the arms come up and exhale back, and that gets more, into the upper back. And then down, okay? So, and then you want to compensate for that. Because, and by the way, that was really quick. You could do that for 5 minutes. So to compensate for it, you can do a little Chakravakasana or the sunbird pose, inhaling tabletop and exhaling down. Right? That's a great way to compensate for it. So that is chariot pose. That's something you can add to your classes. Make them a little harder. It's a little harder than Cobra. It's a little bit harder than just locust, lifting your legs up, and it's working with the legs going in and out. You're working different aspects of the muscle fibers. And the same thing with the arms. You're working different aspects of rotator cuff stuff and rhomboids and those mid fibers of the trapezius and all the way up into the erectors and the neck. So it's really a good pose for the back body. I hope you enjoy it. Please leave a comment, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.